Welcome to the Circle of Success. I'm your host, Brett Gilliland, co-founder and CEO of Visionary Wealth Advisors and the host of the Circle of Success podcast. And today I'm joined with Daniel Hack. Daniel, how you doing, man?
Fantastic. Excited to be here and have a great conversation.
I'm excited to have you, man. I stumbled across your story, I believe, through Instagram, through a conference maybe I was a part of with Steve Weatherford, as you know, Steve. And so excited we got to connect, and now here we are. So thankful to have you. We were talking before, you are in San Diego. It's 72 and sunny every day. And in St. Louis, it's like in the morning, you got your heater on full blast. And then by the afternoon, you've got your window down, your sunroof open, and you're just loving life because it's warm again. That's the world we live here in St. Louis.
Yeah, well, that keeps you on your toes, though, right? See,
Right.
The consistency sometimes can breed some complacency here. So it's something that we fight against. That 70-degree weather, we just, we'll have to do other things to breed that, like go into cold plunges or things like that.
That's right. Weatherman, the weathermen and women, they earn their money around here, man. Because to be, as we were talking before, you could be sledding one day and literally going golfing in shorts the next. But that's the way it is here. We chose to live here, and you chose to live in San Diego, so that's very nice. But man, you are the founder of Gratitude, which is what I've learned from doing my research is more than just a company, man. This is a movement. And I want people to get a glimpse of your story, just kind of what's made you the man you are today, and what helped you start Gratitude and the company, again, the movement that you're having, and make a huge impact out there, man. So if you can, give us a little lay of the land. What's made Daniel Hack the man he is today?
Definitely. Yes. So we champion mental health with empowering lifestyle products. So the word that we use, we're really a lifestyle movement brand. So what we do is we utilize our sunglasses, our journal, and some of our other products just to be able to reach people and impact them. So our whole goal is always to champion mental health. So with our sunglasses, on the inside of each of them, it says, live life through a lens of gratitude. So that the sunglasses are a trigger and a reminder that we do have the choice to live life through a lens of gratitude and on our perspective of how we look at things. Because a lot of times we'll look at things and we'll think they happen to us, when in actuality, they happen for us. But it sometimes takes until hindsight to be able to see that. So on the other side of the sunglasses, it also says, make it a great day. My dad used to say, we don't have control over everything that happens, but we do have control over how we respond to it. So instead of having a great day, we can make it a great day. Unfortunately, he died back in 2010. He struggled with mental illness, and it was his third bout of depression. And so he died by suicide. So for each pair of sunglasses that we sell, we give back a pair to someone who has lost a family member to mental illness. And through that, we give them resources and other things to really help them get through and process that loss. Because our goal is really to help and serve those people.
And so, one, thank you for sharing that story. And so how old were you when your dad passed?
I was 21, so I was a junior in college.
Man, so talk us through that. That's obviously a very difficult day. Did you know your dad at 21 years old was dealing with depression to the level that he was dealing with it?
So I knew that he was going through depression. When he first went through it, I didn't fully understand it. I just remember I remember looking upstairs, and I have this picture in my head of looking upstairs and asking what's wrong with Dad. And my mom said, Dad's tired. He's sleeping now, and not understanding why he wasn't leaving the room. I think I was in 4th or 5th grade at the time. And then he went through another one when I was middle school, early high school. And then this was the third time. So we knew that he was struggling with depression and really going through that. He had just spent a couple weeks with my aunt. We didn't know that he was at the point that he was. And one of the things that he said through the letter that he wrote is it wasn't necessarily the depression, it was the fact that it was continuing to come back that really broke him. So it was really, honestly, it was a defining moment of my life. When I think about it with a defining moment, you think about the before and the after. And so in that time, I had the decision. I could be a victim and be someone, I could use that as an excuse for the rest of my life. I could say, yeah, but I lost my dad, or my dad died by suicide. Instead, what I did is chose to be able to impact people through that. So initially what I did is I really took a hold of that make it a great day concept, and I made that my core value for my life. So always wanting to be a positive person, always wanting to positively impact other people. But full transparency, I didn't actually deal with it for about 7 to 8 years. So I lived a very kind of surface level life for a long time. I was utilizing other things to get that validation or that emptiness that was in my heart from not having my dad. And with work, it served me well because I was successful at business because I wanted to have the things that people wanted. But in terms of overall happiness, I felt like I was always just chasing this thing. Like there was a destination addiction where I'll be happy if, and I could never reach that point.
So when you think of, you don't just flip a switch and become, oh, now everything's fine, I'm going to make it a great day, rah rah. You don't have that. So I mean, when you were fighting through what I would call the quote unquote dark times, what did you do to eventually come out at the other end of that tunnel?
Great question. So the most impactful thing, and really one of the most impactful questions that anyone ever asked, and it was me listening to it. We talked about this briefly before, the impact that podcasts can have, because I love that quote. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Well, if you listen to podcasts, you can actually listen to the conversations of high level people. And so I was listening to a podcast with Laird Hamilton and Gabrielle Reese, and Tim Ferriss. It was interviewing them. And he asked a question, what's the one piece of advice you give your 30-year-old self? And they asked the same question back to him. And he said, start meditating now. It's not just for hippies who play the didgeridoo. So it was like, okay, I read the 4-Hour Body. I read the 4-Hour Work Week. This guy has studied everything. If that's the one piece of advice he's giving, I'm going to try this. So I took a transcendental meditation course, started to meditate. And what happened from there is what's called metacognition. So thinking about my thoughts, where before I was just kind of in this autopilot and I really lived very surface level without even knowing it. One of my roommates brought this up later, but he said, I noticed how you would take really quick showers and you'd either have a podcast or music on before or after, because I didn't want to be alone in my own thoughts, because I went to places that I didn't want to be. So I always just had different things going on, whether it be Netflix or music or friends or, partying, different things. And I didn't even fully realize it. So then when I started to meditate and thinking about my thoughts, that's when I started to realize that I was living for external validation. It's really sad to talk about it now, but I used to correct people when they would call my condo. I had a loft condo downtown San Diego with a glass ping pong table, all of the things. And when people would come in and call it an apartment, I would correct them and have them call it a condo, because I needed that validation of other people for them to know that I was successful, so that I felt good about myself, because there was an emptiness there.
So condo for you meant more successful than apartment.
Correct.
Okay. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I think it was, I could see the face sometimes when people would be like, oh, do you own this? And it would be that. And I liked that validation. I remember feeling
so you
that.
You didn't rent it, you owned it.
Right.
Which is why it was a condo versus an apartment.
Exactly.
Well, the bank owned it, right?
Very true. Very true.
That's what we always say. It's like, well, the bank owns it, and so, no, I mean, I think that's huge, right? To know that and to think about that. You're in your late 20s at that time, I assume, and to have that validation. So would you go like to a local college or like a local to get the meditation deal?
So there's the transcendental meditation is actually the most studied type of meditation. So this was right before like Calm and Headspace came out. So there was a little bit more of like hey, I need to go out and seek this. And so they actually have 2 different locations where you can take an informational course. And then from there you can then pay for, it's like a 3-day class where you go at nights and do that. And then one Saturday. So it's like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday type of deal. And so that's what I did to be able to take that meditation course.
And so when you think about meditation, I've meditated for years, but I started with Headspace and now use Peloton and now I use my own stuff. Just kind of thinking, being quiet with myself. But what is it like for you? I mean, because a lot of people probably don't meditate. Some do listen to this, but probably most don't. What is that process like for you? What do you get from it? How do you slow down? How do you turn your brain off, right? Because we're always thinking and moving in 1,000 different directions. That's the hardest part I found early on in my meditation life.
Definitely. And so there's different types of meditation. So I've told that story multiple times, like probably hundreds, if not thousands of times over the last, 4 years. And I've had one person actually take the course. But
Mm.
what I do is I give them a gratitude meditation from Insight Timer. It's a free app so that they can at least start. Like you said, it gives you a place to be able to start, then you can explore from there. If you're using a guided meditation, they actually take you through it, which makes it a little bit easier as a way to be able to start. There's normally positive affirmations. Obviously, gratitude is a very powerful concept for me. So I always want to point them down that way. But then with any meditation, even if your mind is quiet, a lot of people think, okay, I need to not have thoughts. No, what you want to do, at least with transcendental meditation, is thoughts happen. Okay, what the concept is that that's your mind like cleaning those out. So it's totally fine if you're thinking about things. You just don't want to be focused on them. So I love this kind of description of just have the thought on a cloud and let it float away, and then you're just going deeper into this kind of meditative state to be able to do that. So what's told is to do it 20 minutes twice a day for transcendental meditation, but there's also the guided meditation apps that you can utilize. And then a new different type of what I call meditation as well is breath work. And it's similar to the guided in that it is a guided breath work, but what you're doing is you're utilizing your breath to get into a deep meditative state, which I've been meditating for 4 to 5 years, and I still get a lot deeper of a meditation when I do breath work because you're doing something to be in a state. So you're using your breath to be actually get out of that kind of frontal lobe and have that quiet and get into your subconscious. And it's amazing the way that you feel after doing breath work. I know our mutual friend Steve Weatherford brings in a good friend of mine, Tyler Forbes, to do a breath work for some of his events. It's called Breathe Degrees. And I absolutely love going to that, but also sharing that experience. And then they also have an online that I'll do a few days a week. It's just a little bit more of a long form guided meditation, essentially. I call it a music infused breathwork experience, but it is very similar to a guided meditation and that someone's taking you through it.
Yeah. It's funny. I went through Wim Hof, which you obviously have heard of. And so I did that for a month. And man, I was literally, I'm a guy, if I went underwater at a pool, I would hold my breath for like 20 seconds and think I'm going to die, right? I can't hold my breath very long. But I got to a point through that I held, my longest was 4 minutes and 11 seconds, which was
Wow.
incredible. But man, I had to stop doing it because I was getting so much anxiousness about it because when I was done, I was like lightheaded, like felt like I was going to pass out. I don't know if that's just part of the process and you got to battle through that. But man, that's where I got, and it started to worry me. It's like where I couldn't do it any longer because I was so worried that I literally was just going to black out. Did you ever experience that?
I didn't, but what with the guided stuff that I do, I've done some Wim Hof, but I've done more of this. So Tyler actually went to a Wim Hof event and then was wanting to kind of become the soul cycle or core power of breathing and get a location. So I use their kind of online platform in their forum there, which it normally has like maybe a 2 minute hold, up to I think the most I've done is about three. So I haven't gotten where I've gotten past that four mark. So I haven't experienced that specifically, but I could imagine that happening with some of the longer breath holds at the end, because essentially you're doing the 40 rounds, your breath all the way out for a hold for a certain period of time, and then you bring it in and then squeeze, and it's a really unique experience.
Yeah, yeah. And now, do you do the cold plunge? Are you a big fan of that stuff?
Yes. So full transparency, I have a Frigidaire freezer, just like Steve, in my between my house, and I have a garage with a studio above it. So I have a cold plunge there. And then I actually just put a sauna in so I can do the hot cold therapy and switch between the two. Because there's no better feeling than after doing breath work and going through a cold plunge. You just feel so reset. But then there's so many positive impacts of a cold plunge, the mood boosting endorphins that are released, lowering inflammation, a number of different things that I love it. Also, until I got the sauna, I hadn't been in the cold plunge in a little bit because it was winter. So it got down to in the 60 degrees and 50 degrees here. So that's very cold for us.
Well, we would take 50 and 60 being cold here. But so talk to us about the cold plunge for people that may not know what that is. It's funny. I have 4 boys, as I told you before we started recording, and I've done this where we'll get into the sauna, or not sauna, but the steam room, and then go right to a bathtub that's maybe 45 degrees, and literally, man, I feel like maybe I'm just a wimp with all this stuff, but like I get in there and I'll stay there for 3 minutes. My youngest is 6. We give him like 10 or 15 seconds, to get him out. I don't know if it's should be in there any longer or not. Maybe I should research it more, but they absolutely love it. We love doing it together. But walk us through, what is that? What do you get from that? Getting in an ice cold bath for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it may be. What do you get from that?
Definitely. And 3 minutes is great. Don't put yourself down, but that's like they've seen that. I think it's past 2 or maybe 3 minutes that you don't see the actual more medical benefits. It's more of an ego thing where you can see how long you can go. So for me, one of the main things
the entire time. Sorry to interrupt. I mean, I literally feel like I'm going to die. I'm like, this is brutally cold.
right, but guess what you do? You persevere through that, and you're able to overcome those thoughts in your head to then control what's going on. So it's powerful, and that we don't really look into as much. And I love beach volleyball, so I look into breath work and the different things that I can do to be able to be the highest level athlete I can. And breath is really powerful for that. So doing the breath work, the reason that you see Wim Hof or Tyler with Breathe Degrees then go into a cold plunge is what you can do is you're actually using your breath to get into a different state. So normally it is, I have, I'm stressed out, my shoulders go up and I breathe really quickly. Or when I'm calm, it's low, or it's longer, slow breaths. So when you're in the cold plunge, if you use nasal breathing, so breathe out with your nose and just deep inhales, or deep inhale, deep exhale, then what happens is like I'll literally have, I always think about shoulders up, and then I focus on relaxing one muscle group at a time. And then I'm able to use that breath to really control my external circumstances and control what's inside of me, which I think is really powerful in life. So we have a lot of things that are outside of us that we can't control, but we always do have control over ourselves, and we can utilize the different tools and tactics to be able to do that. So that's a really powerful, just in like the conceptual way. Then there's the medical things like decreased inflammation, the mood boosting endorphins that are released, and also it's sharing the experience with other people. Like you doing that with your sons, there's a reason Navy SEALs go through tough times together, because it builds community. So if I have other people who I bring to Breathe Degrees or come to my house and do this, we feel closer because they've overcome something. If they're in the cold plunge for the first time, I can sit there in their ear, speaking life into them, letting them know that they have it inside of them to overcome it. And when they reach 3 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever it is, they then are empowered themselves, so that maybe that, negative thought that's in their head, I can't do this, or don't go talk to that person, or make that extra phone call if you're in sales, or hit snooze on the alarm. Maybe that's quieted throughout the day. And I think a lot of us, that inner critic would be powerful if we could just turn the volume down on that and really empower that voice of who we truly are.
Yeah. It's incredible, man. And you're totally right about the accountability to it, or just the being that together. I mean, I can see my boy, especially Drew, was like, let's go. Like he was fired up, man. He came out of that thing. And so we're going to do it tonight, man. They start spring break tonight. We're going to go home. I'm going to text them when we get down and say, we're doing cold plunge tonight. Because I got to get through that. I mean, that's the step I got to get through, because so many people doing this podcast, you hear about people doing the cold plunge. And I've got a guy coming on next week that's is an expert and has created this unbelievable tub and all this stuff for it. So yeah, it's certainly when you hear something this many times, probably says you should be doing it, right?
Exactly. Well, it took a few, like I'd heard of meditation before, but it took a few different times of hearing it. Okay, we should probably do this.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I think it's a great opportunity. I mean, you said you have 4 boys, to really empower some of the older boys to then speak life into the younger ones so that they can continue to lead the same way that you lead as a father, that they can lead their brothers.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. Very good point. So many questions on this stuff, but I think one of the most important things I heard, if you go to your website, to plug your website, what's your website again?
Gratitudemovement.co.
Gratitudemovement.co. We'll put that in the show notes. And also share this on YouTube, share this on social media, man. Get this message out. This guy's doing amazing work. And buy some sunglasses too. I was looking at them today. I'm gonna buy me a new pair of shades. And
There we go. And we have a special gift for your listeners. So we do have a discount code for 17%. Just put in Circuit of Success and you'll be able to do that. And remember, for each pair that's sold, you're actually championing mental health and helping give a pair of sunglasses to someone who's lost a family member to mental illness. But then we also give them resources to really help them champion themselves and get out of that and process that.
Yeah. So they go to gratitudemovement.co. They can find the glasses there, buy them, type in the promo code Circuit of Success. They get 17% off. We just saved them a bunch of money. And
there we go.
Next for the summertime, man. It's coming up. The sun's out. It's going to be awesome. But let's talk about, and we've touched a little bit on this now, but just the power of choice. You know, the choice. I say this on the Circuit of Success every time I give a talk. It's your attitude, your belief system, your actions ultimately get your results. But I say to start, attitude is a choice. We wake up every day. That alarm goes off for me. I have to have an alarm. It goes off every morning, and I have a choice. I can choose to be a victor. You said this earlier as well. I can choose to be a victim. I can choose to be in a bad mood. I can choose to be in a good mood. It doesn't mean you're waking up every day and again singing Kumbaya, but man, it's a choice, and there's power in that choice. So when you hear me talk about that, what comes to your mind?
Definitely. And that's the thing is we do have I love the difference between react and respond. Respond has intentionality. So that is, I am taking a pause. So I think choice, what that starts with, what even before choice is sometimes a pause. Like, okay, what is this circumstance? What is happening right now? So that I can choose to respond how I want to. So in any situation, we have that choice. When the alarm goes off, we could choose to hit snooze. But guess what that's telling ourselves? That's telling your subconscious every single morning that you are not worthy and you're not trustworthy. Where if you want to build self-esteem and self-image, you want to do what you say you're going to do. And the alarm is one of the most important things there. And that's the thing. And I think even with the world that we live in right now, there's so many different things that we cannot control. And so we do have the choice of what we can, but also give ourselves the grace or just know that like we can't control everything. I think we as humans, especially high performers, we want to be able to control a lot of things, where instead we we make the choice to know that we don't have control over certain things, but what we do have control over is how we respond. What do we do in the ice pledge? What do we do when there is adversity? And who do we want to be? Like we all have core values in who we are as people. Like, how do you want to show up as a dad? How do you want to show up as a husband, as a leader in your business? On this podcast, you have that choice in every situation. And so it's really just the intentionality behind that.
And I think too, you said the control piece as high achievers. I was just talking to a buddy over text messages this week. He listened to the podcast that came out Monday with one of my best friends in the world, Derek Meinhardt. And I do this thing on Sunday nights. It's Sunday night planning, and he texted it, and we talked about how Sunday nights you could have some anxieties maybe around the week, right? And I think the more you prepare for that week, the less anxiousness you're probably going to have. And we talked about, he said it's probably a control thing. So we do want to have control, but we can't always control what's going to happen in our week. So how do you battle through that?
I think it's really just knowing that I think the first is awareness. So having the awareness that I don't have control. So like, something like sales. I don't have control if someone's going to say yes or no. I do have control over knowing and doing exactly the things I can so that I can, what I say, leave it all on the field. So that I'm putting forth all of those efforts to be able to do that. But then also, I think you're 100% right. If you're planning and doing everything that you can to set yourself up for success, that's why I love the name Circuits of Success, is if you're utilizing these different circuits that other people are doing, you're just going to continue to get into a place where there is more peace, which I think that's the goal. We want to have that peace,
Yeah.
but we also know that we're still human. So I think it's peace, grace, and really that choice to be able to do that, because a lot of us don't give ourselves that grace in certain circumstances. Like, I know that I'm not supposed to hit snooze and I know what happens, but I'm going to be honest, sometimes I do. And for a while, I'd be so hard on myself that just by doing that, it would actually set my day off on the wrong trajectory. So I had to really incorporate in that word grace and that concept into everything.
I'm pulling up my iPhone here. So I put in the alarm section here. So I go to alarms. I typed in my 2 5-year plus goals. I did this a couple years ago, and you can go in, edit it right on the iPhone, and say I want to wake up at this time. I wrote down the 2 goals inside the app. So then, real big on my screen, it'll come up and it says the 2 goals, and then underneath it says you choose. And that's what it's saying. So I'm like literally talking, my phone's talking trash to me every morning because I'm a guy, I like to stay up late, but I like my sleep. And so I always struggled with that. And so I have found over the years, and again, like you said, you're not perfect, but when I find that I have this phone staring at me and it's telling me to choose, like if I want those 2 goals, those 2 things that I want long term, if I want those things, I have to choose to get up. I have to choose my attitude. I have to choose the right thing, because I'll ask you the question, Daniel. How many people do you know that are successful that have a bad attitude for a long term?
I don't think any.
Yeah. How many people have a crappy belief system, right? Don't believe in themselves, don't believe in a higher power, don't believe in A, B, and C that are successful long term?
None.
How many people don't take action that just automatically become successful? You got to work your butt off, man. You got to
Right.
take a list, right? You get my point here is you got to do all these things, and they're a choice. They're a huge choice. So I love that you talk about that in your deal. So how do we get comfortable being uncomfortable? Because I don't like uncomfort.
So one, listen to David Goggins. That's the first thing, because I think he's
Book here somewhere.
Can't Hurt Me.
Yeah.
It's on the bookshelf. So he was actually the inspiration behind it. He had a question. Someone asked him a question: "Is there anything you're self-conscious of, or anything you're scared of, or anything like that?" He said, "No, because when I went right after it." So when I heard that, I'll just give a specific story of myself. I was self-conscious of dancing. Okay, I'm a basketball player, volleyball player. Sports, any racket sport, that's my thing. I can pick it up and be naturally more talented, because I think talent is God-given where skill is built. And so those came easy to me. Dancing did not. So what I did is I was like, okay, I'm going to get comfortable in the uncomfortable. So I went and took some hip hop dance classes. I then hired a hip hop dance coach to teach me a routine and set a date. I love that you have the 5-year goal there. I set a date of, on my birthday, I'm going to perform this routine in front of all of my friends. So we had a barbecue on the beach in Mission Beach, which if you've been there, it's a big boardwalk right there by the roller coaster. And I actually performed the routine. Yes, it probably could have been better. And that's the nature of us as performers and people who are always striving to get better. But that's what I did. And what that did is now I can go to a concert. I went to a concert after that, and it was the most fun I've ever had, because I wasn't self-conscious of dancing, even if it was just a little shoulder thing or just a little bit. I wasn't doing the full routine, but it gave me that comfortability within dancing to be able to do that. So it's really looking at what we are maybe uncomfortable with and going out and doing it and creating frameworks around it. Like the same way you have a framework for your alarm. Well, what I did is I said, I'm going to go to hip hop dance once a week. I'm going to schedule it, because if it's just a video that I tune into, I'm probably not going to, I'll find a bunch of reasons. And it's the same thing that happens in the cold plunge. I remember driving to those hip hop dance.
Real quick on that. I'm sorry. So I want to make sure I make this point is, think about what you just said there, though. I hired. So you put skin in the game. You hired a coach. So anybody that wants to go do something, I have found if I put skin in the game versus watching the YouTube video, I'm trying to play the guitar and I'm trying to do this thing through YouTube. Well, I don't have any skin in the game. So guess what? I haven't picked up the guitar in a couple months, and I was starting to learn some stuff. But you got to hire somebody, man. So congrats to you. I apologize for interrupting, but I think it's so important to learn that.
No, I think that is really important. And even people who are in like the personal growth and coaching space, like they can give you the same exact thing for $10 or $1,000. But if you pay $1,000, the completion rates on it are so much higher, or whatever rate it is, because you've actually put the money into it. So it's not only that, it's them wanting to make money, it's actually the people who are in those positions know that you need to put money into it for us as humans to be able to get over that hump, because it is something that's a little bit uncomfortable. So like when I was driving to the hip hop dance class, it was that same voice that comes on when I, want to sleep in, or in the cold plunge, or all these places of, oh, well, it's at a park. So maybe you shouldn't go. They're probably not going to show up. You didn't get a confirmation text. There was all of these things happening. And then I was there and I was in the back, and I was definitely the worst one. Me and this older woman were joking around that we were starting a dance team. But then at the end of it, I remember that joy. I remember that feeling of what that felt like driving back compared to driving there. And it is uncomfortable. Like that drive there was not a fun drive, and I was battling my thoughts. But on the way back, because I overcame that, and because I went through that process, I think process is such a powerful word, to be able to get to where I wanted to go, was amazing, because I persevered through that, with which we as humans, like I think we're supposed to be in process to be able to continue to grow, to be able to get better, rather than just have a destination in sight, or a destination in mind. It's actually the process is the juice. The process is the place where all the growth and happiness and joy happens.
Did you have any liquid courage, man, when you did your dance on the beach?
No, actually.
No, you did.
No liquid courage. I was doing a year off of drinking at that time. So
holy shit. What was that like? A year of no drinking?
So that was definitely different, because a lot of my life before that, so this was kind of the transition period. So I started the meditating, and then I actually, which I'll jump into this really quick, I actually went and lived in a van for 7 months, after I realized I was living for other people's validation, because I found that if I was impressing people with things that I had, what could I do to get out of that? Well, I'm going to go live in a van. No one's going to be impressed by a guy who lives in a van. So I actually rented out my condo, lived in that. And that was during that time that I met Steve, reconnected with my faith, and really just listened to podcasts, played beach volleyball, and went to dog parks because I had it all set up with AC with my dog. And then after that, I think I maybe went out once when I was in the van, and being hungover in a van is not a fun experience. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do sober Q1. And then from there, I actually started doing 75 hard, which Andy Frisella started, and really just decided I wanted to do a full year. And it was amazing what happens when you cut out something that is a very focal point of our society and community. And just the people that I would surround myself with, or the people that I'd want to go hang out with if drinking wasn't a part of it. So it was powerful just to kind of reframe what I wanted in my life, what I didn't want in my life. And I sometimes drink now, but definitely it's in a different way than previously.
Right. Good for you, man. That's great. So what'd you learn by living in a van for 7 months?
6 months was my goal, so I made it an extra. It's like Ed Milet's 1 rep more. So I learned a lot about myself, honestly. I learned that I really didn't need that much stuff to be happy. I learned about what are the things that really meant a lot to me, which is community. I love what I do for work. Like I love providing value to the world. And really the impact that podcasts had. I learned a lot about myself, but then I also reconnected with my faith.
So it's funny. I'm going to grab these bags real quick. So are you familiar with Made For?
Yes. Andrew.
We're plugging other people's stuff here. But look, I got this bag this month, Made for Giving, and then right here, Made for Clarity. And I haven't fully read everything yet, but it's talking about the things that I've got to give up this month, things that are important to you in your life, and just put them away for a month, and seeing how important that thing truly is to us anymore.
Right. And it's a powerful practice to take some of the things out. And it's kind of like the book you were talking about, Essentialism. that if you take some of these things out, then you can see what's really important. So essentially what I did is I took out a lot of the social things and different things that I was doing and to see what I really wanted. I actually probably spent more time with friends during that, because when you don't have, a couch to go back to or TV to watch or stuff like that, you spend more time with friends and you see who you want to be spending time with. So I think it was a really powerful aspect for me to be able to do that and kind of have that reset. And then during that, it was super powerful because I got connected with the church that Steve was going to out here and really reconnected with my faith to have a relationship with a higher power.
That's great. So the same question that really kind of changed your life, that what would you tell yourself, right? That 30-year-old, what would you tell yourself? I mean, you're a young man still, so you can't go back 20 years and probably tell yourself something. Maybe you can, but as you get older, like me and other people that have 20 years professionally, it's different. But what would you tell yourself?
Great question. So I would say take the time to pause, that you have the choice to respond and have the choice to in any situation. But we really need that time to pause, to be able to reflect, to be able to meditate, to really unveil that highest version of ourselves. I think we all have it inside of us. We always focus on being the best version of ourselves, but I think it's a combination of being and growing with unveiling that we all have it inside of us. And just to take a pause to reflect, to see where you are and also see where you want to go.
Absolutely love that, man. So where do our listeners find more of you?
Definitely. So for me, my personal is I'm on Instagram at Daniel D. Hack. You can find us for gratitude at gratitudemovement.co. That's only the CO. And then obviously for the sunglasses, we talked about that a little bit earlier, gratitudemovement.co. We've got the discount code for your listeners, Circuit of Success. Get them 17% off and champion mental health with empowering sunglasses. And they're honestly amazing sunglasses. I get a lot of feedback that people buy them to support and really the cause and the movement, but then they're like, wait, these are actually really nice. So they're designer quality for about half the price.
I love that. You can't beat that, man. Why 17%, not 18, not 16?
Great question.
So, or is random?
No, not.
I figured there's nothing random, man.
Yeah, so they've done studies on what numbers are best to utilize, and 7, like 7 days in a week, and 7 days completion. So what they found is that using that number 7 is actually more powerful than say doing 19. 19 makes sense. You're just trying to get to 20. That's the closest thing you can do that doesn't look like 20. So for 17, that's the reason that we do that, is that's a number that people will connect with more. And I think it also shows that it's not necessarily us wanting to give back the lower amount, but it's we want to give them a gift. We want to be able to do that, but also have a number that connects with them.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing that. Because one, I didn't ask you for that. You didn't have to do that. So our listeners, I'll thank you for that. And man, we'll send as many people as we can your way. And go check out his website. Check him out on social media. Tons of great stuff. And man, it's been awesome having you here.
Awesome to be here. Really enjoyed our conversation, and thank you for what you do to really bring these conversation and the circuit of success that other people have, because I know that there may be someone else out there that was like myself, that one podcast changed the whole trajectory of my life. So I want to thank you for that, and I look forward to hearing how the cold plunge goes with your sons tonight.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Make it a great day.
You too.